Thank you, Madam Chair. Bishop Becerra, good to see you again. Appreciated our meeting and very informative. Just a couple of comments based on the conversation that's been going on with Senator Murphy and Senator Braun. In the state of Massachusetts, where I served for a number of years, we did put in place an extensive transparency program. It gives very good data on the cost of various procedures in different hospitals, for instance, as well as their success rate in those procedures. But interestingly, the consumer has very little interest in that data because for them, the price is zero. In our system, individuals do not have an incentive to shop around for bypass surgery, for instance, even if they have time to prepare it, because it's free. Once you go past your deductible, and many people have gone through their deductible during a year, it's paid for 100% by their insurer or the federal government. And so it's free. So they don't care whether it costs $10,000 or $100,000 to have bypass surgery. So I'd suggest that it's important in your role to look at how we create a true marketplace, as Senator Murphy was indicating, which means that the consumer has interest in what something costs and therefore is anxious to shop around, particularly for elective surgeries and other high-cost treatments. Health savings accounts does that. In other countries, they have co-insurance as a way of increasing a marketplace. So just offer that as a thought. There's a division in our country with regards to the issue of abortion, of course, as you know, and mainstream Democrats disagree, but most people agree that partial birth abortion is awful. You voted against a ban on partial birth abortion. Why?
So, Senator, here, I understand that people have different deeply held beliefs on this issue, and I respect that. I have worked, as I've mentioned, for decades trying to protect the health of men and women, young and old. And as Attorney General, my job has been to follow the law and make sure others are following the law. And I'm also sitting in front of a high-risk OBGYN who, for several decades, had the work of protecting the health of women and a future baby. And so I will tell you that when I come to these issues, I understand that we may not always agree on where to go, but I think we can find some common ground on these issues because everyone wants to make sure that if you have an opportunity, you're going to live a healthy life. And I will tell you that I hope to be able to work with you and others to reach that common ground on so many different issues.
I think we can reach common ground on many issues, but on partial birth abortion, it sounds like we're not going to reach common ground there. Let me turn to Medicare. You want to expand Medicare, as the President does. Our current Medicare program is on track to go bankrupt. The Trust Act is going to be completely insolvent. How are we going to expand something that's already on the track to go bankrupt? What's the answer? And this is obviously of great concern with regards not just to Medicare, but Medicare is the biggest one. It's the largest portion of our federal spending that's growing much faster than the economy, and which has the potential to sink our economic standing.
So I believe all of us will agree that our Medicare beneficiaries, seniors who paid into the system for so many years, should not be the ones who suffer when it comes to
Totally agree. No one on either side of the aisle thinks the people who've retired or are near retirement ought to see any change in the program that would affect the quality of care they receive or the benefits. No question.
I appreciate you saying that. So really that means we're on track we have consensus that we have to find the solutions. And here's where I'll tell you that one of the things that President Biden has proposed is to allow Americans to essentially buy into what is considered Medicare at an earlier age. But rather than use the current Medicare system, which, as you mentioned, involves a trust fund, he would try to bring some revenue in from the general fund so that we're not impacting the trust fund. And so there are ways to do this.
Well, we do spend a lot of money from the general fund now.
We do. Yes, we do. But as we said, the priority should be to make sure Americans have good quality health care at their avail.
I think we pointed out that we've got a problem here, which is if it's already running a huge red ink program, expanding it is not going to make things easier. We're going to have to find some way to make this work, and I don't know that the administration has determined what that might be. My last brief question is this, which is that California has a lot going for it. The sun, the high-tech sector, great universities, but it's also known for high taxes and high regulation. businesses have been leaving California. My state is a great beneficiary of that. Republicans say, watch out, if the Democrats get in charge, they'll make the whole country like California. Is that true? Is California working, or is California making a mess of things?
First, let me tell you, thank you for applauding many of the things that California does. But Californians recognize that we're one of 50 states. I will say this, we may be one of 50 states, but we're the 5th economic power in the world. And we create more jobs.
Well, you're big.
Yeah, we are. But there are a whole bunch of big countries that can't do what California does. And what we've been successful is in graduating more people from college than anyone else, having the #1 industry in high tech. At the same time, we're #1 in ag. We're #1 in manufacturing, if you believe that, just as we're #1 in entertainment and tourism. We have been able to bring innovators to the state. But you're right. We have to face a lot of challenges as well. And I think California recognize that we are fortunate to be part of this great country we call America. And so I thank you for giving me a chance to boast about my state.